They are waiting for you to explain yourself. Don't. Every time you justify a decision nobody asked about. Every time you defend a choice to someone who never supported you. Every time you over-explain, overshare, overprove, you are not building trust. You are bleeding power, quietly, consistently. One unnecessary word at a time. Here's what nobody tells you. The moment you explain yourself to someone who doesn't deserve the explanation, you have already lost. Not the argument, not the conversation, the frame. You have handed them the position of judge. You have placed yourself in the dock, and you have confirmed, without saying it, that their opinion of you matters more than your own conviction. That is not humility. That is submission dressed as communication. Think about the most powerful people you have ever encountered. Not the loudest, not the most aggressive, the ones who moved through the world with a weight that made other people pay attention. The ones whose silence commanded more respect than most people's speeches. The ones who made a decision and simply lived it, without narrating it, without defending it, without waiting for approval. Did they explain themselves constantly? Did they justify their choices to critics? Did they rush to correct every misunderstanding? No, they did not. And that stillness, that refusal to perform, was the source of their power. Real power players move differently. They understand something that takes most people decades to learn. Explanation is a transaction. And in that transaction, you are always the one paying. Here's the psychology behind why you over-explain, and it will be uncomfortable to hear. You explain yourself because you are afraid, not of the person in front of you, of their disapproval, of being misunderstood, of being judged without the full picture, of people thinking badly of you when they only have part of the story. That fear is human. It is also a chain. Psychologists call it approval-seeking behavior. The need for external validation that your choices are correct, that you are acceptable, that you belong. And it is reinforced every time explaining yourself makes someone nod and accept you, because now your brain has learned. Explain more, receive approval. Explain less, risk rejection. But here is what that conditioning costs you. Every explanation you give is a map of your insecurities. Every justification reveals what you fear. Every defense shows exactly what can be used against you. You think you are providing context. Your adversaries think you are providing ammunition. The untouchable person understands this. They give the map to no one. Machiavelli watched this pattern play out across courts, councils, and kingdoms. The leaders who fell, not to armies, not to betrayal, but to their own words, their own need to be understood, their own compulsion to defend their reputation against every accusation, to correct every rumor, to explain every decision to every critic who demanded it. Each time they explained, they confirmed that the criticism had landed. Each time they defended, they elevated their accuser to the level of judge. Each time they justified, they signaled that their position was not self-evident, that it required support, required proof, required the approval of others to stand. And their enemies understood this. The strategic mind does not take the bait. It lets the accusation sit in the air unacknowledged. It lets the rumor circulate uncontested. It lets the misunderstanding exist because the untouchable person knows that their actions over time are louder than any explanation ever written. You are not misunderstood. You are being tested, and engaging with the test is failing it. Here's what silence communicates that words never can. When you respond to every accusation, you are saying, "This reached me." When you explain every decision, you are saying, "I need you to understand me." When you defend every choice, you are saying, "Your judgment matters to my stability." But when you say nothing, when you absorb the accusation, the misunderstanding, the criticism, and simply continue moving, you are saying something far more powerful. You are saying, "I am not governed by your perception of me. That is a statement no sentence can make as effectively as silence can. Think about the last time someone you respected refused to engage with an attack on their character. They didn't fire back. They didn't post a response. They didn't gather allies to defend them. They kept building. They kept moving. They kept winning. And the attack dissolved. Not because it was answered. Because it was beneath them. And they demonstrated that not with words, but with indifference. That indifference is the armor. And most people never build it because they mistake engagement for strength. There are 3 situations where most people feel compelled to explain themselves, and where the real power player stays silent. The first is when they are misunderstood. Someone interprets your actions incorrectly. They draw the wrong conclusion. They tell others. And every instinct you have screams, correct this, set the record straight, make them understand. The strategic response is to let the misunderstanding breathe. Most misunderstandings correct themselves over time as your actions accumulate and speak without you. The ones that don't, the ones that persist, are not misunderstandings. They are decisions. And explaining yourself to someone who has decided to misunderstand you is pouring water into sand. Your silence forces them to sit with their assumption. Your continued performance forces them to eventually revise it. Or it doesn't. Either way, you have spent nothing. The second is when they are criticized. A critic surfaces. They have an opinion about your choices, your methods, your work, your character. And the instinct is to engage, to prove them wrong, to demonstrate where they have misread the situation, to show them the full picture they are missing. Here is what the critic wants. Not the truth, attention, your reaction. Evidence that they have the power to disturb you. The moment you explain yourself to a critic, you have given them exactly what they came for. You have confirmed their significance. You have made yourself smaller in the act of trying to make yourself clearer. Let them have their opinion. Opinions about lions don't concern lions. The third is when they are challenged by people they love. This is the hardest one. Family, friends. People whose approval you once needed to survive. They question your path. They doubt your decisions. They express concern dressed as criticism. And you feel the pull, not just to explain, but to convince, to bring them with you, to make them see what you see. Some of them will come around when they see the results. Some of them won't. Neither changes what you have to do. And spending your energy trying to make them understand before the results exist is borrowing against a future you haven't earned yet. Do the work. Let the work speak. The explanation will never be as convincing as the outcome. Here's how you break the habit. You will feel the pull to explain. That feeling will not disappear overnight. It is wired deep. What changes is what you do with it. When the urge to justify rises, pause. Ask yourself one question. Does this person's understanding of my decision change my ability to execute it? The answer is almost always no. Their understanding doesn't change the decision. Their approval doesn't change the outcome. Their clarity doesn't sharpen your path. The only thing explaining achieves in that moment is a temporary reduction in your discomfort, bought at the cost of your positioning. So you hold the urge. You let the discomfort sit. You say nothing, or you say less than you want to, and you watch what happens. What happens is this. The moment passes. The critic moves on. The misunderstanding either resolves itself or reveals itself as intentional. And you are still standing, still moving, still building, having spent nothing on people who were never going to understand you anyway. Every time you do this, the armor thickens. Every time you choose silence over justification, you reclaim a piece of your power that over-explaining had given away. Every time you let your actions carry the weight your words were going to carry, you become harder to manipulate, harder to destabilize, harder to reach. That is the fortress, built one silence at a time. Built. The untouchable person is not the one with the perfect rebuttal. It is not the one with the most convincing explanation. It is not the one who finally made their critics understand. It is the one who stopped needing them to. The one who moved through the world with such certainty in their direction that justification became irrelevant. The one whose results made the explanations unnecessary. The one whose silence was louder than everyone else's noise. You are building that. One decision at a time. One held tongue at a time. One moment of choosing your peace over someone else's understanding. They are waiting for you to explain yourself. Keep moving. My silence is my power.